But, guys, this has been a long episode.
It's not done.
Don't interrupt me, boy. I was not done.
I'm going to steal the spotlight here.
The last part is the dungeon debate. Where this episode, we are doing DM versus player. Look, if it's a versus, the DM is gonna squash them.
Yeah, it's DM versus
ants.
player. So basically what we're going to do is Ethan's going to have a character sheet. I'm going to be the DM, and we're just going to fight and see who can kill the other person.
That's not what I signed up for.
Oh, no, I'm just kidding. No, we're saying which one is basically more fun to be, the DM or a player in the game of the DMs.
And just to specify, look, everyone has their preferences. These are just ours, all right? So, you can think wherever you want. That's understandable for funs, for giggles. And, well, I want to start out players are more fun. The DM is the servant to the players. Think about it that way, players. DM is your servant. They're making the game for you, not for themselves. DM slug, servant.
Well, when we think about it in terms of the actual game, of course, it's all about immersion. The DM is God. I'm out.
Drops the mic. But the God always wants to serve their people, though. Right?
No.
But the thing is, players are praising the DM.
Yeah, they are.
No, they're not.
No, but
Loath.
Okay. The DM is God, right? But with God, with great power comes great responsibility. So sure, you can argue that.
Never say that again.
But would you rather be Spider-Man or Uncle Ben?
Spider-Man.
Exactly. He's more like the DM. He's got a lot of power and a lot of responsibility.
No, he's the
you
character.
thought Uncle Ben was the DM?
Okay, Jake. How about this? Would you rather be Planet Earth or Wolverine? Would you rather be Canada or Wolverine?
Well,
would you rather be?
I think again,
Canada, random Barrow.
I think the perfect
with
analogy
with the villains or Wolverine. You want to be the hero.
He's saying Wolverine because I like Wolverine.
But any superhero though. Everyone thinks of being like, oh.
No, but the best analogy is the DM being God. We don't just become unconscious when we're DMing.
But
we are still sentient.
But we are talking about what's more fun, though.
Yeah,
what do you want to be? And as the player, you don't think, oh, I want to be Uncle Ben. You're like, no.
Uncle Ben's the player. No, again, with great power comes great responsibility. So the more power you have, the more like the DM you have.
Are you saying Spider-Man's God?
Compared to Uncle Ben.
Spider-Man's way more of a character than a DM.
Okay, would you rather be Spider-Man or God? God. All right, anyway.
God is boring.
Moving on. Which is more fun?
God is boring.
God is boring.
Hey, you can't put religion into this. All right? See, gods or the abyss or God is, Star Trek The Next Generation, Q. He's literal God, but he's bored.
Would you rather be Loth or Drider?
Well, okay, anyway, that's different.
Moving on. All right, let's talk about what's actually more fun. So first thing I'd like to say is D&D is a game of storytelling, right? That is for me, that is probably the most fun. For most people, it's at least part of the fun.
Oh, no, I love storytelling.
It's storytelling. It's group storytelling.
It's so good.
And although the players are part of the group and they have a major impact on the story, assuming the DM is doing their job, which I will assume in this debate, the DM does, I think we can just agree, have more power in the story. Just because...
Well, they are the story.
There's the story that moves, but there's all the plot and world around it that very much colors what the story is, and all of that is the DM's creation. It doesn't have to be, but in general it is.
Right, but if you want to use this creation and make it fun, you have to have people who experience it, Like, you have to have things that play in the world. You would look literally insane if, Mom opens the door, sweetie, what are you doing? And you're just in the corner. It's like, all right, the goblin rolls.
No.
And you roll the dice, and it's like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, a DM playing with himself. All right, anyway. No, this is a good point, a good time for me to say, off the record, that to all you players out there, you are appreciated.
And
Although
the DMs out there, appreciate it.
Yes,
You see,
although
it's
I
kinda
prefer.
yin and yang.
Yes,
Right.
although I prefer to be the DM, I couldn't play without y'all.
It's true. And I prefer players, and I wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the DM.
Yes.
Literally, like, I'm just paper.
And we're back to the debate. Yeah, players suck. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, anyway, so yeah, more story involved with being the DM. And sure, players are necessary for that, but...
Players have more fun, though. Because you get to experience the story, you're like, wow, this is, like, an awesome story. Like, in every movie, and in every game, you know, like you just get developed in the characters, and you love the characters. You don't say, I love that random bad guy that killed Uncle Ben. No, you're like, I just love Spider-Man's emotions when Uncle Ben died. You know, it's like,
Do you enjoy when, like, your protagonist in a movie or something, like, surprises you? Do you enjoy that? Like, do you enjoy watching them is that the
yes,
point?
but I care about the protagonist and not, like,
Yeah.
you care more about the character.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
And as DM, it's like you're watching the best movie ever. It's the movie that you created.
I guess that's true. Yeah, I mean... Yeah,
And
I
part
guess
of
that's
the
DM,
fun...
it's like you're watching a movie.
So it is nice as being a PC. It is nice being a PC in that you do get to kind of experience this world. But the DM also gets to experience it, and they get to make sure it's a world they want to experience. Now, of course, the DM should ask the players, like, is this cool? Sure.
Guys,
but
we're going to Rainbow Land. You guys think it's cool and gothic and stuff? It's like, what?
yeah, no. But being the DM, you get to watch your players go through these situations that you created, which is just so fun.
That is fun.
It's so fun.
I also play as a DM. I, by the way, also really like playing as DM. I already created my world and stuff. Heathmore, pretty chill, pretty cool.
Like
But,
a Heath bar, like
it's Heathmore.
Heathmore, but like, you know, like those candy bars.
Yes.
So like, is your world like the Heath bar of worlds?
Are Heath bars good?
Are they even a thing? I've never had one.
I think
'cause
I think you're delusional.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, as DM, I'll make them exist.
And I'll
Yeah.
eat them. I'll give them purpose.
Perfect.
But like,
They
yes,
taste
as the player. So for the pro players out there, you just want to experience the story and have fun. You want to twist the story up. You could say frick the DM when the DM says you got two paths. You're like, nah, I'm going straight through the woods.
You could, but
You could.
get ready for an unprepared plot. You know.
That is true.
But
like,
I think part of being a good player, I'm assuming that this is a good DM. Obviously, a DM could just like completely railroad you. They could say like, "Oh, the forest, you can't go there. Magic wall." Right? But I'm assuming
Don't be
the
that
DM
guy.
exactly. I'm
Don't
assuming
be
the
that
DM
guy.
is doing a good job. So I'm also going to assume that the player's doing a good job, and players that intentionally go off what the DM is intending, because the DM is not perfect. The DM cannot
every
make it
player,
so mysterious that the player doesn't know. There will be something where it's like, okay, I know what you want us to do, right? You want us to investigate this. So as a good player, you should
investigate
it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's part of the story.
Yeah, you know, so really on both sides, just make the story fun and good. Even though, just personally me, being a player, just more fun. I love being a DM too, you know, this is like very close.
Well, what's more fun about it? That's the whole debate.
Well, yeah,
You can't just
I just
beg
think
the
it's more
question
fun
like that.
because, like, you know, as the DM, that everything's gonna happen, and just as the player.
That is not true whatsoever.
Well, you know what I mean. Just like as the player, you like get to shape the world even more, and you get to think
Then the
about,
DM.
But no, when I say even more, you're like, I made this world have meaning. I made it fun for everyone, you know. Just
Yeah,
act
but
like it's
but
just,
as the DM, you get to say,
But, like, you get
I
to-
created a place for these people to play in, and they had fun because of the world I made and themselves. But like without you as the DM, they'd be in nothing. They'd be walking around in a white room.
But if you did have the players, that world, which is like it's like yeah, in your head your mom's like, what are you doing, Jonathan? You're just like, the water is pouring.
I think we can agree that without the players, the DM doesn't have any fun. Without the DM, the players don't have any fun. So that point is a pretty.
But like what I'm saying is like
there.
it is fun to create things, but it's also, I think it's more fun to accomplish things in that world. Because as a character, you're like, oh, I failed. Maybe we could like do it again and see like what else they did. Like you could replay a campaign, go with different strategies, Be like, what if I went this way? Or what if I did this? And what if instead of losing, I actually won and I was cool and all my and all my bug friends were cool with me.
I will say there is, at least in the games I play, accomplishment, because typically what I kind of do is I will set up a world or just like a part of a world that I know really well. So I know what's going on. And I will set it up so that if anything happens, it will probably be a good challenge rating for the players. But once I know that according to the stats, it should be equal, I then do everything in my power playing fairly without cheating to win. Or to as a monster, I will say, what would this monster do? And I'm not going to do anything that would save the players. They have to save themselves, right?
That is fun.
And so it's fun to say, like, I'm fighting all these people, right? But
fun.
You have to obviously watch yourself. You can't. It's not about winning. It's just about the fun of being like, this monster does this now. Gotcha. And it's like, darn it, that makes sense. You know what I mean?
What about other times, like, as, like, kind of like, I mean, I played with people before, but, like, one time, like, it's just so good, like, when the DM thinks, like, you're kind of, like, in doo-doo, but you're like, I pull out my trap card, and you just freaking just destroy everything the DM created. It's just like, yes. Like,
trap card? Player has a trap card? What do you mean?
Yeah, kind of like, let's say, yeah, you see, like, 8 bandits, you're like, huh. You remember all those traps I set before?
Oh, yeah, you love to set traps.
Ahead. Yeah, like, that's what I like.
Oh, that's true.
But, like, all that stuff is, like, one time I made a Predator player. If you don't know what Predator is, it's a great movie.
Well, like the Predator versus Aliens. I mean...
Yeah, the masked Predator. So one time I played as one of them, it just felt so good. Just being in, like, the trees. So just sniping people, just trapping people. It was just so good. Because, like, being the monster also as a DM, like, when you're the dragon, you feel, like, so powerful.
You're saying you played as a predator?
Yes.
That's cool. Character. And that actually does... So, that's not a D&D race, right? You're homebrewing with that, in essence. And so, homebrew is very common. And every D&D game can be very, very different.
With whom?
And to the point where you may enjoy one type of D&D game and hate another. Like, they can be so different, but in the same game of D&D, that to say you like the game D&D, if you have a DM that doesn't play like you play, you may not like the game D&D, right?
That's true.
You may the first time you play D&D, it may be terrible, but that doesn't mean there's not another way of playing you wouldn't like. But so my point is, there's so many different types of playing. And every time you play as a player, you're risking that you're about to play a game, especially if you're starting with a new group, that you're not going to really like. But as DM, although you make your game geared towards your players,
just don't mess up.
You will always also make the game geared towards yourself. So as a DM, you can never create a world that you're not unhappy with. Yeah,
that's true. That's a very good point. Like, I mean, just don't mess up as the DM though. You might be like, oh, this is an awesome world, but all the players just like, bro, how come the spider bite just instantly kills you? You suck. It's like, well, that's realistic. It's like, it doesn't matter.
You should follow. That's where following the rules is helpful. Cause
see, if you played Edition 1, there's some things that could just instantly kill you. There's things that
we're talking about 5th edition here right now. And 5th edition is by far...
Just still, but some of the stuff that the DM pulls on you can be just like, screw you. Just like really mean stuff. Like stuff that there's stuff out there that de-levels you. You know how embarrassing that is? Oh,
I know. I'd hate to be that player.
You were a level 6.
Nothing can de-level a DM.
Well, you can't level up as a DM.
Yes, you can.
Sure. Alrighty. Well, I mean, is that all you had in this debate?
I'm surprised you haven't talked about... See, I was ready for this debate. How have you not talked about the character creation phase. That's got to be like the funnest part about being a player.
Did.
You did?
I did. I was like, I literally made a predator. That was so sick.
But you didn't emphasize. You emphasized what you did.
Well, yeah, but as a DM, you literally create everything else. You can say, no, that Drider's a centipede now. But like just the creation aspect, just making. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Just making a smexy character.
No, exactly. No, that's super good.
Amazing.
So what I was gonna say, now that you brought it up, I love making characters, and that's one of my favorite parts of playing. But I do find that there are characters a lot of times that I get tired of. They just get tiring. Sometimes a lot. It depends on how. It really depends on the DM and how the game's going. If you really have time to get into your characters, that can be fun. But a lot of times, you've made your character, you think they're really cool, and then session 7 comes around, and you're like, kind of want a different one. I'm really done casting illusions. Anyway,
that was funny.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I literally had. There's some players.
That's what I get for not giving myself a damage dealing cantrip.
I mean, as a player, you should like your character because I had this one guy that says, "Can I just die?" I have like 60 other characters. Just like, all right, buddy. Like,
yeah, sad.
Just, like,
but my point is, as DM, you get to go through the character creation process if you'd like, but they don't get tiring. They're NPCs. You make them, and they don't last forever. So you get to just continually be making characters.
But couldn't you just do the same thing as a player too?
No, because then you're like, oh, I've made a new character.
Yes, you could just say I commit seppuku right there and now.
But
and then
that's not that's not a good player move to not do that.
But what happens? Like you're a character, you're like, I rolled a. When it's like, I fight something that's really stronger.
If you're not trying, that ruins it for everyone else, right?
Well, what if you are trying?
Then you're not gonna die that often.
But like as a DM, you don't put all that love into the NPCs as a player with their character. Like a character's like a baby.
You could if you wanted to, though.
Why would you? That makes the whole campaign's like yes.
Yeah, that's probably a little too much.
Right? You put all your time into Phil. Made him character.
It's like, yeah, I totally didn't prep the plot this week, but there's an NPC that's really deep. Like, ask him about his backstory. He's got a lot. It'll be fun.
You see, he was a Drider once, and then you just talk about Driders.
Then you just rewind this episode to the beginning, and that's what the A session is. Anyway, so I got some more stuff to just roast players with. Got anything else?
Okay, well, just DMs might have all the power, but as the player, just my general roast, DMs are the servants of players. They're trying to please them players.
You started with this.
Those I know, but those players aren't trying to please
DMs serve themselves.
No, they do not.
Along with the players.
No.
They're like the president.
They're mostly for the players. Exactly. The president is serving the people, Jake. The people are stronger than the president.
Yes, but the president... Okay, this gets into political ideology. But the president, most of the time...
Just kidding.
All right, we're not getting political. It is going to not just go completely against their own opinion, right? If you got Barack Obama, right, in the office... And then you got the Trumpers...
Whoa.
So the time is getting a little out of whack here, because why would you have Trumpers if Barack Obama's in office? But anyway, if you had like super conservative people yelling at a Democratic president to do something, I guess in a sense those are not the president has to serve them too. But the president isn't going to just grant them what they want. Their Democratness is going to bias what they do, and vice versa if the roles were switched. And so, although the DM is going to help the people, or help the players, only in a sense that they like. And you can be so creative with how you help players that you can make sure there's always a compromise.
I mean, how I think of it is like, as the DM, everything that's going to happen, and it brings you joy to see the happiness of your players.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the point. But as the players, like, you're kind of like leeching off of the DM. You're getting more of that happiness.
Well, I agree. I see what you're saying.
You see what I'm saying?
But
like, if the players are happy, the DM is happy. But
players also. So this is that is a common mindset. But like players have a big responsibility to make the game fun too. The DM puts in a lot of work up front, and the players need to show up ready to make this game fun because how they act affects how everyone else plays. And so if you have a group of people who are just really there that are compassionate to the other players and really there to make sure everyone has a fun time, oh, it's amazing. I mean, that makes the difference. Your players can make such a huge difference. So, like, the DM, I wouldn't say the players are leeching off the DM. I think that might happen a lot, but those are players that should work on their play.
Well, I mean, the DM has to put in double time into, they have to work really hard.
They do.
They do, So
great power and great responsibility.
So if you're a
no
lazy
pain,
guy
no
like
gain.
me, be a player, be cool.
No, yeah, playing definitely fits in the schedule better.
If you want to be served like a king, be a player. Kings don't do jack crap.
Yes.
But they're praised.
Okay, but you
see, the DM is the kingdom, you're the king.
Okay, that goes against everything I just said. Asked and answered, but
It's true though. I'm a king player character. You guys serve.
Okay, I'm gonna respond to how DMs have more work, and I will concede that yes, they do have more work, and that's probably the biggest downfall of the DM. But just like reading a book versus watching a movie, there's a lot more you have to put in, but you get a lot more out, in my opinion. So when you put in all that work to be the DM, you are by default more immersed in that world because you have to be. If you're going to run this game, you have to be way more immersed in the players because you have to know what would happen if they do certain things that the players don't need to know, right? So in a sense, you get to be in you're a more active player as the DM. You're not a player. You're playing the game Dungeons and Dragons in a more active capacity because you're not ever passively observing anything. You are like the world. Your mind is. And so your mind is working because it's like this player does this and then you have to be like, okay, what happens, right? Like, what does that do?
Well,
and your mind's constantly doing that. Player 1, what do? You have to do that. Player 2, what do? You have to do that. And player 1's resting now. Player 3, what do you do? So you're constantly moving. As the DM, if you like playing the game Dungeons & Dragons and you never want to be the guy sitting there waiting, be the DM. Because the DM never stops, right?
But the thing is, the DM, never gets the spotlight, though, right?
That's true.
So, you never get that satisfaction, kind of like how I think about it. The players are there. The DM's just the narrator. He's just there. No one says, "Oh,
it's a very humble role."
That narrator, amazing. No, they're like, Sarah Connor, literally, how she blew off that Terminator's head. Oh, that's what people want.
Someone else there. Yeah. That's true. It is a humble job. It's a thankless job a lot of times. Except, if a game goes really well, I think there is kind of a pat yourself on the back. And other players may recognize it too, where it's like, that was, when your session is over, it's like, wow, that was really fun. Thank you, DM. You know what I mean? That's the best ever. Best feeling.
Yeah. That is true. Yeah, no, it's respect. Yeah, no, that. When as a DM, when you feel it, you're like, nice. And then you go back to your room and go,
check.
Just respect. But, yeah.
Life fulfilled.
If that's your life.
Now I gotta start in the next session.
Yes, but, as the player, to experience a world, it's just amazing. It's a lot more fun. I mean, I love creating worlds, but personally, I just like experiencing them. To think in different ways, to act, to role play as different, in a different way and stick with it to make this story so good. Just to make it special, make it mean something else, be unpredictable, make friends, try to get with a Drider woman and become sad. All right?
Here we go again.
That's what makes it fun. Sometimes. All right. Sorry.
Anyway,
That was a lie.
I'll give you the last word on that one. So, who won? The bear or the owl?
It was me.
Which is better, DM or player?
You
decide.
It's up to you guys. Vote in the comments. Be cool. All right? Peace out.
Hashtag Team Owl.
Ew. Bears smack owls, Jake. Just a bear. The bears are sick.
Owls are... I'm not even going to engage you on that.
That's our next.
We take the high ground, literally.
Bears can climb to the high ground.
Oh, can you? Can you climb to the clouds?
Have you ever seen flying bears, Jake?
Okay, we're debating something different now.
Now might be a future debate, but have a good night, ladies and gentlemen. I am your bear, Ethan. Peace out. Have a good time. Don't get eaten by a dreader woman. It's not fun. Peace out, everyone.